Hi everyone, and welcome to the Book Refuge. Today I'm doing some steamy reading recommendations for you. These are all books I've read so far this year, so you might be familiar with me talking about them. They were all rated pretty highly by me, and I thought I would share because you guys really like my recommendation videos, and I know not a ton of people do straight up romance recs. I mean, one of my favorite to follow is Jess. I'll link her channel down below. She does tons of recommendations for all of the romance genres, and I really love her, so I want to be emboldened by her and share my favorite sexy time books. So that's your PSA for all of these. Don't read them and say I didn't warn you, but I will kind of tell you like the levels of them maybe, but generally these are all, we're talking like 5 tamales and up from there. So let's get started with the reason that inspired me for this video. This is Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey. You're probably seeing this around a little bit lately. I actually received an e-arc of this back in February, and I was so glad I did because I just love this. If you remember, I raved about this. I gave this 5 stars. It was so fun, and now it's out in paperback, and I had to get myself a copy. I actually got this one as a gift. I unboxed it in my reading vlog for last week. And anyway, this one is about Georgie Castle. Her family runs a renovation company, but she is actually a clown. So she's a clown for children's birthday parties. And so she's the butt of all the jokes, basically, because of her job and because she's the youngest in the family and nobody really takes her seriously. And then Travis is her brother's best friend, and he was a professional baseball player, and he was recently injured and he can't play anymore. So he's back in his hometown, and though he's famous to everyone, and everyone thinks that they know him, he doesn't feel very known by anyone. In fact, he feels really lonely. And then, Georgie decides that she's going to help him get his life back on track, but she also has been in love with him her whole life. So there is a fake dating trope in here. There is childhood crush, and it's just adorable. This one is really sexy, really fun. They both are helping each other with problems, and it has one of my favorite things in books, and that is when the love interest stands up to the girl's family. And in this case, it's a family he's known his whole life, and he just now realizes how they treat Georgie. And I loved it. Like I said, I gave it 5 stars. I really suggest it. And I actually have another Tessa Bailey to talk about right now, because after I read that, I went on a mission to find some more of her books, and I found Captivated by Tessa Bailey and Eve Dangerfield. What a cool pen name, Eve Dangerfield. That's awesome. So Captivated, this is about Autumn, who is an Australian living in New York City. She had moved here with her boyfriend, who is a stand-up comic. And at the beginning of this novel, they're breaking up because he cheated on her. So she's behind on the rent, and the landlord, Blake, comes to talk to her about it. And so Autumn, she is a vet, and so that's really cute. There's some different animal things going on, and she actually is nursing some pigeons back to life in her apartment, which isn't allowed. So the starting point of this novel is, okay, so she's just broken up, she's really sad, and she actually has a couple of kinks that she really likes. Basically, some light BDSM that she's wanted her boyfriend to do with her, and he has always refused to do it. And so, yeah, that's a thing. And the way that everything gets started, the inciting incident, as it were, is, Autumn has made some comics about herself being treated in certain ways, and she used her landlord, Blake, as the male in the picture. She took inspiration from him. And so when she writes a note to Blake, she accidentally writes it on the back side of the comic that she wrote, and Blake sees it, and they enter in. It's not a fake dating trope. It's more of they decide to give themselves a month worth of dates to kind of live out their fantasy, and then they're going to move on. And let's be real, that's not going to happen. But it was really great. This also deals with it's not deportation, but whether she is going to go back when her visa is up or if she's going to stay. And her family really wants her to come home and take up the veterinary practice of her family, and she maybe wants to be a stand-up comic. So it was really cute. I really like Tessa Bailey. I believe I gave this one 4 stars. I didn't look these back up on my Goodreads, but I know I rated it pretty highly. Next, this one I just thought is kind of pertinent because everyone's reading Christina Lauren these days, and this is their first book they ever did together, Beautiful Bastard, which I read because it was Twilight fan fiction, not because I was hearing about all their other books that came out. I was just feeling that I wanted to read some Twilight fan fiction that wasn't 50 Shades of Grey, because that's not Twilight fan fiction. Okay, I mean, it is. The person who wrote it, that's what they were basing it on. But to me, that's not the parts of it that I wanted to read again. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense. Like, that's not the part of their relationship that I wanted focused on. It was more like the tension. And well, this one a little more towards 50 Shades of Grey. Not for the BDSM stuff, but for the way that they like kind of treat each other. But this is about Bennett and Chloe. And Chloe is just starting at Bennett's business, and they're really attracted to each other. It's a hate to love, with like more of a focus on the business than like happened in 50 Shades of Grey. You know what I mean? Like, she really is working on her career and he's able to help her in some ways. But mostly this one is all the sexy time. I think I only gave this, well, I think I gave it 4 stars because it was a very fast read. Like, there's not a lot of words on these pages. There's a lot of fun times in this one. Like, ooh, this one's like way up there for that, which is part of the reason I read it so fast, because at some point I was like, in every chapter, guys, in every chapter. But I really liked Chloe and Bennett, and I've actually read the second one in this series, which is about her friend, and I have the whole series. I just have to be in a mood to read these because they're a bit much. But yeah, I read this because it was Twilight fan fiction, and it's Christina Lauren's first book, and it's definitely, they've moved on from so much sexy time, and I actually miss it. Like, a couple of their newer books I read, it was a lot of fade to black, and like, that's not what I was expecting from them. I like a bit more in my books, but that's okay. Not everybody does, and that's fine. Next up, I have Something That Could Last by Ashley Cade. This one I also got an e-arc for, and I bought the copy because this is a self-published author, and I really wanted to support her. This one is a new adult. The rest of these were adult, but this one's new adult. And this is about, sorry, I just forgot their names. Hold on. Jacob and Abby. Sorry, just took a second there. And Jake and his friend come to this small town for a 2-week vacation before life starts. So I think that he's taking it's a break in college, and Abby's taking a year off of college to earn money before going to school. And she is part Native American, which is really cool. I don't know what kind. I apologize. I didn't write it down, but they talk about it in the book. And her grandma is in here, and she's full Native American, and she's amazing. She's really awesome. Her grandma's great. But they meet at one of Abby's jobs. She has multiple. And her friend, and Jacob and his friend, they kind of hook up for those 2 weeks. And it's all about if they're going to have something that could last. Trigger warning for this, there is an attempted sexual assault in this book. So trigger warning for that. But it's so sweet. And this one will actually have a sequel. And the cliffhanger is a bit extreme. I follow Ashley Cade on all of her social medias, and I am just wanting her to finish that next book because I love this one so much. And the cliffhanger is just cruel. But this one is more of a sweet romance. It's very steamy, but not through sex scenes. Like, there are sex scenes, but like the chemistry and the connection just builds and builds and builds until finally something happens. And I love that. Like, man, it had me at the edge of my seat. They communicate really well. They're just so sweet. And I really love this, like, kind of like first love situation. It was so cool. And I just love it. And look at this cover. It's beautiful. Please, if you want to support indie authors with romance, please check this one out. It's amazing. Captivated was also as well. Actually, so is this one, which I've talked about a ton, and I'll talk about again, and that's Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. You hear about this on all of us small channels who like steamy romances because it's so good. This is about, I always have to look up their names. This is about Jordan and Pike, and Jordan is dating Pike's son. Yeah, I know, it's weird. It's weird. He's 18 years older than her, I think, 17 or 18, and her boyfriend's a jerk. There's no cheating in this. There is a definite break in the relationship before it happens. There's attraction beforehand, but I mean, Jordan's not looking at Pike other than him being attractive, and Pike's not looking at her that way until his son's not there anymore. His son's a total douche, like really not a good kid. And so through some certain things in Jordan's life, she ends up staying with Pike and his son, and then when Pike's son cheats on her, Pike kicks his son out and lets her stay because she has nowhere else to go. And it goes from there. And this was my first age gap romance. That wasn't like a fantasy, right? Because, you know, there's stuff in there. She's 19 and he's like 38, I think. But it's so good. Like, I love it so much. So, not everyone's going to be into that, and I totally get it. But this book is so good. So, if you are going to try an age gap, give this one a try. And then make your decision, right? Because it was really good. It was really good. And then finally, this one is super popular. You've heard everyone talk about it, but I really had a good time with it. And that's The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. There's not much I have to say. Y'all already know about this book. It's fine. But this is about Stella and I just forgot his name. I'm horrible with remembering names, so I'm mad. Stella and Michael. And Michael is an escort. And Stella has, she's on the autism spectrum, and she wants to learn about sex and love, and so she hires Michael. And Michael doesn't see his clients more than one time, but he makes a special agreement for Stella to help her out, and they fall in love, and it's amazing. So, it's cute. Anyway, those are 6 steamy romance recommendations from me. You're welcome. I put up new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you can see some more right now. Bye!